The rain hammered the church roof like 1,000 tiny fists demanding justice, but Elias Harlan could barely hear it over the roar in his chest. He stood at the altar of that forgotten chapel in Willow Ridge, Washington, the scent of pine and wet earth seeping through the cracked windows, and stared into Rowan's eyes, those storm-gray eyes that had always seen right through him. "I can't do this," Eli spat, his voice cracking like thunder, the words tasting like ash as he tore the silver bond ring from his finger and flung it into the shadows. Rowan's face crumpled, not in rage, but in a devastation so pure it carved a hollow where Eli's heart used to beat. And in that instant Eli knew he'd just shattered the only fated promise the pack had ever whispered was his. Eli stumbled out into the downpour, the mud sucking at his boots like it wanted to drag him back, but he didn't look over his shoulder. Not once. The pack's howls echoed from the tree-line, a mournful chorus that twisted the knife deeper, but he kept running, down the winding dirt road that snaked out of Willow Ridge toward the highway. His pickup truck waited like a faithful beast under the sodium glow of a flickering street lamp, engine rumbling to life with a growl that matched the storm's fury. He gripped the wheel until his knuckles bleached white, the rejection still burning on his tongue, a vow he'd made to himself in the dead of night. Success over soul, ambition over the pull of the moon that had marked Rowan as his from the cradle. Willow Ridge wasn't the kind of place that bred dreamers. It was a cluster of clapboard houses huddled against the evergreen sprawl of the Olympic Peninsula, where shifters like them scraped by on logging gigs and whispered legends of the old packs. Eli had grown up in the shadow of those stories. Fated mates, eternal bonds sealed under the full moon. The kind of love that could tame even the wildest wolf. His parents had it, or so they said, before the mill closed and his father drank himself into an early grave, leaving Eli with a mother who chain-smoked camels on the porch and dreams of escaping this godforsaken nowhere. Rowan Whitaker had been the golden thread in that frayed tapestry. 2 years older, with that easy grin and hands callous from fixing engines, the boy who'd pulled Eli out of his first shift rage at 13, murmuring, "Breathe with me, pup. I've got you." They'd been inseparable after that, sneaking into the old quarry to shift under starlight, racing through the ferns until their lungs burned, collapsing in heaps of laughter and fur. By 18, the bond snapped into place during a harvest moon hunt, an electric jolt that left Eli gasping Rowan's name like a prayer. The pack elders nodded approval. Whitaker blood ran strong and Eli's line was solid. But Eli saw the cage closing in. The same dead-end jobs, the same pack politics, the same suffocating expectation to mate, mark and multiply. He wanted more. Craved the pulse of a city where wolves walked upright without fear, where he could build something unbreakable, not just inherit rust and regret. The drive to Seattle blurred into a haze of windshield wipers and classic rock on the radio, Springsteen's gravelly voice crooning about ghosts in the heartland. Eli crashed at a Fleabag motel off I-5, the kind with thin walls and the perpetual hum of regret from the couple next door. He pawned the bond ring the next morning for gas money, the pawnshop clerk, a grizzled beta with a lazy eye, barely glancing up as he muttered, "Bad breakup, kid? These things always fetch less without the story." Eli forced a laugh, but it came out hollow like wine through hollow bones. He landed a gig as a barista in Pioneer Square, slinging overpriced lattes to tech bros and tourists, but his eyes were always on the skyline, gleaming towers of glass and steel, where alphas like him could claw their way up without a pack to answer to. Nights were the worst. The moon called, pulling at his skin until he paced the tiny apartment, sweat-slick and snarling, fighting the urge to shift and run back to Willow Ridge. Dreams came unbidden. Rowan sent like cedar and salt, his body warm and yielding under Eli's in the hayloft, whispers of forever tangled in gasps. He'd wake hard and aching, one hand fisting the sheets, the other scrubbing away the phantom mark on his neck where Rowan's teeth should have claimed him. "It's for the best," he'd tell his reflection in the cracked mirror, hazel eyes bloodshot and unconvincing. Success. That's what he'd chase. The packs in the city ran leaner, more corporate. Consulting firms masking enforcer services, real estate fronts for territory grabs. Eli enrolled in night classes at community college, devouring business texts like they were scripture, his mind sharpening on visions of boardrooms and bottom lines. 2 years blurred into a grind of double shifts and all-nighters, fueled by black coffee and the burn of betrayal in his gut. He networked at shifter mixers and Belltown dives, flashing smiles that hid the hollow ache, trading stories of rogue hunts for intros to venture capitalists. By 24 he had his first break. A beta investor with a soft spot for strays spotted Eli's pitch for a logistics firm tailored to pack migrations. Discreet hauls across state lines. No questions on cargo that might include a midshift duffel. Harlan Freight, he named it. The letters gleaming on the lease for a cramped office in Soto. Rowan would laugh at that, Eli thought once, poring over spreadsheets until dawn. Or maybe he'd understand. Maybe. But Rowan didn't laugh. The first letter arrived on a Tuesday, postmarked from Willow Ridge, the envelope thick and trembling in Eli's hand like a live wire. He slid it open with a pocket knife, the scent hitting him first, Rowan's unmistakable, laced with the faint bitterness of suppressed rage. Inside, a single page, ink steady but words bleeding emotion. You think you can outrun the moon, Eli? The bond doesn't break because you say so. It festers. And I'm coming for what's mine. Eli's pulse thundered, his wolf clawing at the cage of his ribs, but he crumpled the paper and tossed it into the recycling bin, right next to the empty takeout containers of his solitary life. Coming for what's mine. Let him try. Eli had built walls higher than any packed den, and success was the mortar that held them fast. The firm took off like a shot, clients from Portland PACs needing cross-border runs, alphas in the Sound hiring for security audits that doubled as territory scouts. Eli hired his first employee, a sly fox shifter named Theo with a knack for numbers and a grin that disarmed suppliers. They celebrated the first six-figure quarter at a rooftop bar overlooking the Puget Sound, craft IPAs foaming in mason jars, the city lights winking like distant pack fires. Eli raised a toast, voice steady. To breaking free. Theo clinked glasses, oblivious to the shadow that crossed Eli's face, the way his gaze drifted north toward the peninsula, where the moon hung low and judgmental. That night, alone in his loft, upgraded now to exposed brick and harbor views, Eli allowed himself one indulgence. A bottle of bourbon and the old mixtape Rowan had made in high school, burned onto a scratched CD labeled Our Howl. The track spilled out, Bon Iver's falsetto aching through the speakers, lyrics about skin and wolves and revere, and Eli sank to the floor, back against the cold glass window, the city's hum a poor substitute for the pack's song. He traced the scar on his palm from their blood oath at 16, promising loyalty under the aurora. Fool! He whispered to the empty room, but the word tasted like a lie. The bond pulled, a silver thread frayed but unbroken, tugging him toward the man he'd left bleeding in a chapel. Months turned to years, Harlan Freight swelling to a dozen employees. Eli's name whispered in boardrooms from Tacoma to Vancouver. He dated. A string of casual betas and omegas, quick fucks in anonymous hotels that left him emptier than before. None carried Rowan's scent. None woke the wolf with a single glance. He told himself it was progress, this polished version of himself. Tailored suits over faded flannels, a sleek Audi purring in the garage instead of the battered Ford. But the letters kept coming, sporadic and searing, each one a barb in the armor he'd forged. The latest arrived on the eve of a big merger, slipped under his office door like a curse. Eli's hand shook as he unfolded it, the paper crisp now, scented with leather and urban grit, no trace of pine. Seattle suits you, little brother. But it won't hide you forever. Watch your back. I'm building something that will eclipse your little empire. And when it does, you'll beg for the scraps of what we had. Signed simply, R.W. Eli's laugh was bitter, echoing off the steel beams. Rival. The word ignited something feral, a spark of the old fire. Let Rowan come. Eli would crush him under the weight of his own making. Prove that ambition trumped fate every time. Yet as he burned the letter in the sink that night, watching flames lick the edges until only ash swirled down the drain, a whisper slithered through the smoke. What if he doesn't want to crush you? What if he wants to claim you still? Eli poured another drink, the bourbon burning away the doubt, but it lingered like moonlight on water, beautiful, inevitable, and cold. The conference room in the Fairmont Olympics smelled of polished oak and fresh-brewed ambition, chandeliers casting a golden haze over the power suits and whispered deals. Eli adjusted his tie silk, imported from Milan, a far cry from the thrift store finds of his early days, and scanned the room, his wolf senses prickling at the undercurrent of alpha posturing. Harlan Freight was pitching for a slice of the Cascadia Trade Alliance, a consortium of shifter-owned firms eyeing expansion into the Bay Area. Success here meant legitimacy, venture backing, prime office space in Belltown, maybe even a feature in that glossy Pacific Northwest Business Monthly. He could taste it, sharp and sweet on his tongue. Theo slid into the seat beside him, laptop humming, his fox-sharp eyes gleaming. Nailed the slides. You're golden, boss. Eli nodded, forcing a grin, but his mind snagged on the dream that had jolted him awake at 3 a.m. Rowan silhouetted against a full moon, teeth bared not in anger but invitation, the bond thrumming like a live wire between them. He'd shaken it off with a cold shower and black coffee, but the echo lingered, a low growl in his blood. The doors swung open, and the room fell into a charged hush as the Alliance reps filed in, Bets with clipboards, an elder Gamma nursing a tablet, and at the head, a figure Eli's heart slammed against his ribs to see. Rowan Whitaker, leaner now, shoulders broader under a charcoal suit that hugged his frame like a second skin. His hair, once shaggy and wild, was cropped close, silver threads at the temples catching the light. Those gray eyes swept the table, landing on Eli with the precision of a predator scenting prey. No shock, no flicker, just a slow, deliberate smile that curled like smoke, promising reckoning. "Mr. Harlan," Rowan drawled, voice smooth as aged whiskey, extending a hand that Eli was forced to clasp. The contact was electric, the bond igniting in a flare of heat that shot straight to Eli's core. His wolf whining in recognition. Rowan's grip lingered a beat too long, thumb brushing the pulse point at Eli's wrist, before releasing with a casualness that felt like a slap. "Heard a lot about your operation. Impressive hustle for a rich boy." Eli swallowed the snarl rising in his throat, reclaiming his seat with legs that felt unsteady. "Whitaker, didn't peg you for the suit and tie type. Last I heard, you were elbow deep in carburetors." The room chuckled politely, but the air between them crackled, thick with unspoken history. Theo shot Eli a sideways glance, brows furrowed, but Eli waved it off. "Focus. Pitch the numbers, seal the deal." As presentations rolled, Eli stole glances, Rowan leaning back, arms crossed, that gaze dissecting every slide like he was peeling back Eli's skin to the raw beneath. Whitaker Enterprises, the agenda read, logistics and security, with a footprint stretching from Spokane to Salem. How? The question gnawed at Eli. Rowan had always been the steady one, content with pack life, not this shark-in-the-water vibe. But the bond whispered truths. Power suited him, sharpened the edges Eli remembered as soft. Eli's turn came, voice steady as he walked them through migration models, efficient routes dodging human patrols, encrypted apps for shift alerts. Heads nodded, pens scratched approvals. Rowan waited until the Q&A, then leaned forward, elbows on the table, eyes locked. "Bold projections, Eli. But what's your contingency for betrayal? Say a partner goes rogue, decides old loyalties trump the bottom line." The words hung, laced with venom sweet as honey, and Eli's blood ran hot, the room fading to a tunnel of just them two. "Contingencies are for the weak," Eli shot back, smile edged like a blade. "I build teams on trust. No room for ghosts." Murmurs rippled, approval tilting his way, but Rowan's laugh, low, intimate, sent a shiver down Eli's spine. "Ghosts have long memories, Harlan. They haunt the deals you think you've buried." The Alliance greenlit Harlan Freight that afternoon, a 7-figure infusion that had Theo whooping over post-meeting beers at Elliot's Oyster House. Eli nursed a pint, the salt air off the sound doing little to cleanse the residue of Rowan's scent clinging to his skin. "Old flame," Theo ventured, peeling a label with his thumb. Eli barked a laugh too sharp. "Ancient history. Pack drama from back home." Theo didn't press, but his eyes said he saw the fracture. Sleep evaded Eli that night, the loft's floor-to-ceiling windows framing a city that suddenly felt too small. He paced, shirtless in boxers, the Bonda insistent throb low in his belly. Rowan in Seattle. Not just visiting, rooted, rivaling. The letters had been warnings, not threats. Whitaker Enterprises was the shadow creeping at Eli's heels. He fired up his laptop, digging through public records over a pot of coffee that went cold. There it was. Rowan CEO, bootstrapped from a garage startup 3 years prior, specializing in adaptive security solutions. Code for pack enforcers on retainer. Funding from Old Ridge allies. Expansion's time to mirror Eli's own climbs. Stalking. Or mirroring. The line blurred in Eli's mind, stirring a cocktail of fury and forbidden want. Morning brought a courier package, innocuous brown wrap addressed in Rowan's precise script. Inside, a bottle of Eli's favorite bourbon, the one they'd swiped from Eli's uncle at 17, sharing swigs on the quarry ledge, and a note. To toast that stick. Dinner? The Metropolitan, 8 p.m. Don't ghost me twice. Eli's fingers tightened, crumpling the paper before smoothing it out again. He should burn it, block the number Theo had slyly dug up. But the wolf in him, restless, aching, whined for closure, for the scent and sound of the man who'd once been home. He went. The Metropolitan Grill thrummed with downtown pulse, clinking crystal, low jazz underscoring deals sealed over steaks. Rowan waited at a corner booth, sleeves rolled to expose forearms corded with new muscle, a tattoo of a crescent moon inked along his inner wrist that Eli's eyes traced like a map. You clean up nice, Rowan said, standing to pull out Eli's chair, the gesture gallant and gut-wrenching. Up close, the changes hit harder, faint lines bracketing his mouth from smiles or scowls, a maturity that made Eli's chest ache with what-ifs. They ordered filet for Rowan, Eli opting for salmon to keep his hands steady, and danced around small talk. Seattle's endless rain, the Mariners' latest slump. But the undercurrent pulled, inevitable as tide. Why here? Eli finally asked, fork-piercing flesh he had no appetite for. Why now? Rowan's gaze softened just a fraction, enough to glimpse the boy beneath the alpha. Because you left a hole, Eli. The pack mourned like I died. But I didn't. I learned your game, hustle, climb, leave the weak behind. The word stung, laced with truth Eli had buried under balance sheets. Whitaker Enterprises. It's my fuck you to fate. To you. Eli's laugh was mirthless. Rival now? That's rich. I rejected the bond, not declared war. Didn't you? Rowan's hand shot across the table, capturing Eli's in a grip that seared. Feel that? It's still there. Festering like I said. You think success fills the void? I see you, Harlan, hollow-eyed, chasing shadows. Eli yanked free, heart hammering, the bond ablaze that threatened to consume. He tossed cash on the table and bolted, the rain-slick street swallowing him whole. Back in the loft, he stripped and shifted, fur rippling over skin as the wolf took hold. He prowled the rooftop, city sprawl, a concrete jungle mocking his isolation. Howls rose from distant parks, other packs, other bonds, but none called to him like the ghost in his blood. Rowan's words echoed, hollow-eyed, chasing shadows. Dawn found him human again, curled on the rug, the bourbon bottle unopened on the counter. He cracked it then, pouring a measure that burned like confession, and dialed the number he'd sworn to delete. Truce, he rasped when Rowan answered, voice sleep-rough and wary. Pause, then that laugh, warm, dangerous. Truce. For now. But Eli? I'm not letting go easy this time. The line went dead, but the bond hummed, alive and unrelenting. Success had brought Eli everything but peace, and now the past wore a suit, sat across boardroom tables, and whispered of battles yet to come. He drained the glass, the liquor settling like resolve. Let the games begin. The merger announcement hit the wires Monday morning. Harlan Freight's logo splashed across LinkedIn feeds and industry blogs, a digital howl of triumph. Eli's inbox overflowed. Congrats from betas he'd poached from competitors, invites to galas where shifters networked under human noses. He rode the high through board meetings and client lunches, Theo at his side like a loyal second, cracking jokes that eased the knot in Eli's gut. But the truce with Rowan? It frayed like old rope, each encounter a spark on dry tinder. They crossed paths at a charity auction in the Seattle Art Museum, black tie affair for urban wildlife preserves, a thinly veiled fund for rogue shifter relocations. Eli arrived solo, tucks straining against shoulders bulked from gym sessions that did little to quiet the wolf's restlessness. Rowan was there, arm in arm with a lithe omega named Jasper, blonde, polished, the kind of arm candy that screamed calculated. Eli's stomach twisted. jealousy a bitter flood he had no right to feel. He snagged a flute of champagne, the bubbles sharp on his tongue, and melted into the crowd, bidding half-heartedly on an abstract wolf-pelt sculpture that screamed irony. Rowan's eyes found him across the room, gray depths pulling like gravity. Jasper laughed at something low-voiced, hand trailing Rowan's lapel, but Rowan disentangled with a murmur, weaving through velvet ropes and whispering deals toward Eli. Hiding in plain sight? Rowan teased, close enough that his cologne, sandalwood and steel, wrapped around Eli like a snare. Networking, Eli countered, clinking glasses, the contact sending a jolt up his arm. You? Parading the rebound. Rowan's smile didn't reach his eyes. Jasper's a client. And a friend. Not that it's your business. But the way his gaze lingered on Eli's throat, where the mark never taken pulsed like a bruise, said otherwise. They bid together on the sculpture, Eli's competitive streak flaring, Rowan's bids matching dollar for dollar until it sold for double estimate, the gavel's crack echoing like a challenge. After, in the museum's shadowed gardens, rain pattering on glass canopies, Rowan cornered him by a koi pond, the fish gliding like ghosts below. This cold war, it's exhausting. Meet me tomorrow. Neutral ground. The old pier at Golden Gardens. Midnight. Eli's pulse raced, the bond a siren call. Why? So you can gloat. So I can remind you what you're running from. Rowan's fingers ghosted Eli's jaw, a touch feather-light and devastating, before he pulled back, leaving Eli adrift in the chill. He went, of course. The pier creaked under his boots, salt wind whipping off the sound, the moon a sliver that mocked their fractured bond. Rowan waited at the end, jacket discarded, shirt sleeves rolled, vulnerability etched in the hunch of his shoulders. No words at first, just the crash of waves and the shared rhythm of breaths. Then Rowan spoke, voice raw. I hated you for months. The pack scattered whispers, Elias the ambitious, the betrayer. I fixed cars by day, hunted alone by night, letting the rage shift me into something feral. Eli leaned on the railing, wood splintering under his grip. I did what I had to. Willow Ridge was killing me, same as it killed Dad. I wanted out. For us eventually. But the bond. It felt like chains. Rowan's laugh cracked, pained. Chains? It was freedom, Eli. You and me against the world. I would have followed you anywhere. He stepped closer, heat radiating, and Eli's wolf surged, urging surrender. Their mouths met in a clash, desperate, devouring years of hunger unleashed in teeth and tongue. Rowan's hands mapped Eli's back, pulling him flush, the bond igniting in a blaze that blurred the line between pain and ecstasy. They broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed, Rowan's breath ragged. This doesn't fix it. But gods, I missed you. Eli's walls crumbled just a little, enough to whisper. Me too. They shifted then, furred forms leaping into the surf, racing the tide along the shore. A pack of two, if only for the night. Dawn brought reality crashing back. Eli woke in Rowan's hotel room, Whitaker Enterprises pied-a-terre in Capitol Hill, all sleek lines and harbor views, a tangle of sheets and sated limbs. Panic clawed as sunlight slanted through blinds, illuminating the rival's domain. Framed contracts on the wall, a photo of Rowan with pack elders Eli didn't recognize. This was a mistake, Eli muttered, scrambling for clothes, the bond's afterglow souring to regret. Rowan's eyes darkened, hurt flashing before steel returned. Always running. Fine. But remember this. I'm not the boy you left. I've built my own chains now. Eli fled, the door clicking shut like a guillotine. But the taste of Rowan lingered, addictive and damning. Work became a battlefield. Bids overlapped, Harlan snagging a Portland contract, Whitaker undercutting on Tacoma security. Whispers circulated. Sabotage rumors, leaked specs that cost Eli a client. Theo cornered him in the office kitchen one afternoon, coffee steaming between them. Spill. This Whitaker guy's gunning for you. Personal. Eli's jaw tightened. Ancient pack shit. He'll back off. But doubt gnawed. Rowan's letters had escalated, cryptic now. Betrayal's a two-way street. Watch your allies. Paranoia bloom, Theo's late nights, odd calls. No. Couldn't be. The breaking point came at an industry summit in Bellevue. Keynote speakers droning on supply chain resilience. Eli slipped out for air. Balcony overlooking Lake Washington. The water a mirror to his turmoil. Rowan appeared, silent as shadow, offering a cigarette Eli hadn't smoked since Ridge days. They shared it, smoke curling like confessions. "I'm trying, Ro," Eli admitted, voice frayed, "to let you go. But you make it impossible." Rowan's exhale was a sigh. "Because I love you still, you idiot. Bond or no?" The words hung. A lifeline Eli couldn't grasp. Then his phone buzzed. "Theo, urgent. Boss, merger docs compromised. Someone hacked the server." Eli's blood iced. Rowan's face was a mask, but the bond screamed guilt. "You." The accusation flew venomous. Rowan's denial was swift, pained. "Never. But if I did, it'd be to drag you home." He stalked away, leaving Eli shattered. Back inside, Eli rallied. Damage control IT sweeps, but the seed of doubt rooted deep. Trust, his cornerstone, cracked under suspicion. Nights blurred into stakeouts of his own, tailing Theo to dives where Whitaker betas drank, overhearing fragments of deals. Nothing solid, but enough to fuel the fire. One stormy evening, Eli confronted Rowan at his office. A converted warehouse in Fremont, graffiti murals of howling wolves masking the steel. Security waved him through, pity in their eyes. Rowan looked up from his desk, weary. "Come to accuse?" Eli slammed the door. "Theo's feeding you intel. Admit it." Rowan's laugh was hollow. "Theo? He's yours, Eli. Loyal to a fault." But doubt flickered and Eli pounced, shoving Rowan against the wall. Noses inches apart, breaths mingling. "Prove it. Walk away. Let me win." Rowan's hands fisted Eli's shirt, pulling closer. "Never. You're mine." The kiss was war, bruising, claiming, ending with Eli's back to the desk, Rowan's weight pinning him, the bond a torrent threatening to drown. They tore at clothes, skin on skin, reclaiming lost territory in gasps and growls. Release came shattering, leaving them wrecked on the floor, Rowan's head on Eli's chest. "I didn't hack you," Rowan murmured later, tracing lazy patterns on Eli's hip. "But someone did. And it's closer than you think." Eli wanted to believe, the afterglow a fragile peace. But as he dressed, phone buzzing with another leak alert, the war reignited. Love and rivalry twisted tighter. A noose Eli couldn't escape. Success tasted like ashes now, and Rowan, his fated ruin, the only flame in the dark. The betrayal landed like a gut punch, not from shadows but sunlight. Theo's confession spilling over takeout lo mein in Eli's loft, rain lashing the windows like accusations. "He found me 6 months ago," Theo admitted, fox eyes downcast, chopsticks idle. "Rowan offered double to consult. I thought it was harmless market intel, nothing proprietary." Harmless. The word curdled Eli's stomach, visions of shredded contracts and lost bids flashing like bad film reels. Theo's face crumpled, tears tracking salt paths. "I needed the cash, boss. Debts from my litter's medicals. Rowan said it wouldn't hurt you." Eli's wolf snarled, urging teeth and claws, but he reined it in, voice ice. "It did. Get out." Theo slunk away, leaving the apartment echoing with ghosts, the bond with Rowan throbbing like a fresh wound. Betrayal. Eli's own weapon turned inward. He'd built Harlan Freight on trust, only to watch it crumble from within. Sleep was a joke that night. He prowled shirtless, muscles coiled, replaying every glance, every late night. How deep did it go? Was Rowan the puppet master, or just another mark in the game? Morning brought a summons. Rowan's text curt. "My office. Now." Eli drove through gridlock fury, the Audi's engine a roar matching his blood. The warehouse loomed, graffiti wolves leering from brick, and Eli stormed past security without a word, bursting into Rowan's domain. Maps sprawled across the desk, territory overlays, routes mirroring Eli's own, and Rowan stood amid them, sleeves rolled, jaw shadowed with stubble. "You knew," Eli accused, slamming the door hard enough to rattle frames. "Theo, you poached my second." Rowan's head snapped up, surprise genuine before hardening. "Poached?" "He came to me desperate. I paid for tips, not sabotage." He rounded the desk, closing distance, but Eli backed up, hand raised. Liar. Those leaks, time to gut my merger. You want me broken, crawling back to ridge. The words tasted like bile, but the hurt beneath was raw. The bond twisting agony from affection. Rowan's eyes flashed silver, alpha rising. Broken? I'd never. He lunged, not in attack but desperation, pinning Eli to the wall with forearms bracketing his head. I want you whole. With me. This rivalry? It's madness. I started to feel close again. His breath ghosted Eli's lips, scent overwhelming, and for a heartbeat Eli wavered, leaning in. No. He shoved hard, breaking free, chest heaving. Close? This is war, Ro. You crossed the line. He fled again, the door banging like a full stop, but Rowan's howl, human grief, chased him into the hall, echoing in Eli's bones. The fallout consumed weeks. Firing Theo with a severance that tasted like severance from his ideals, hiring a sleuth firm to audit internals, bolstering firewalls with witch-warded tech from a Salem contact. Harlan freight stabilized but Eli frayed. Gaunt from skipped meals, eyes hollowed by paranoia. Clients whispered, sensing blood in the water. Whitaker's shadow loomed larger, snatching bids Eli once owned. He drowned it in work, 12-hour days bleeding into nights at dive bars, nursing whiskeys that dulled the bond's insistent pull. Isolation bred ghosts. In quiet moments, Eli traced the loft's bare walls. No photos, no mementos, just the echo of what he'd rejected. He dreamed of Willow Ridge, the chapel's stained glass fracturing under his fist, Rowan's blood on his hands, the pack's eyes judging. Waking sweat-soaked, he paced to the window, Seattle's lights a constellation of solitude. One dawn, impulse drove him to a tattoo parlor in Capitol Hill. Needle buzzing like judgment, inking a broken chain around his wrist, silver ink that shimmered under moon glow. A mark of his own making, or so he lied to the mirror. Rowan didn't pursue, not with calls or letters. The silence was worse, a void where passion once roared. Eli caught glimpses. Industry events where Rowan worked the room like a king, Jasper on his arm less frequently, but always that lingering gaze across crowds, heavy with unspoken pleas. At a gala for the Puget Sound Shifter Alliance, Eli nursed a gin by the bar, silk tie askew, when Rowan approached alone, glass of red in hand. Truce was a joke, Rowan said softly, no preamble, the crowd's murmur a distant hum. I crossed it. I'm sorry for Theo for pushing. His free hand hovered, aching to touch, but he dropped it. Eli's throat tightened, the apology a bomb he craved but couldn't accept. Sorry doesn't rebuild empires. Eli's voice cracked, betraying the war inside. You wanted to eclipse me. Mission half accomplished. Rowan's swallow was audible. I wanted your attention. Pathetic, huh? The great Elias Harlan, too busy for a mate. The word mate hung like a gauntlet and Eli's wolf keened, urging bridge building. Instead he turned away, but Rowan's whisper followed. I'm losing you twice over. Don't make it 3. The gala blurred after. Dancing with faceless betas to forget. Champagne fizzing false effervescence. But Rowan's words burrowed, stirring the what-ifs. A life intertwined, businesses merged under one banner. Nights shifting together without the weight of rivalry. By midnight, Eli was drunk enough to text. Coffee. Neutral. Tomorrow. They met at a hole in the wall in Ballard. Fog rolling off the canal. Mugs steaming between them on a scarred Formica table. No suits, just jeans and hoodies, echoes of Ridge boys. Conversation stuttered. Weather, mariners' woes, skirting the chasm. Then Rowan leaned in, voice low. Let me help fix the leaks. My IT guy's a wizard. No strings. Eli searched those gray eyes, seeing truth amid the pain. Why? After everything. Because loving you isn't a choice, Eli. It's the moon in my blood. The confession stripped them bare, and Eli's hand crossed the table, fingers lacing with Rowan's, the bond humming harmony for the first time in years. They talked then, real talk, plans for joint audits, boundaries for competition. Hope flickered, fragile as first frost. But betrayal's shadow lingered. That night, rifling through old files for the sleuth, Eli unearthed an email chain. Theo to Rowan, innocuous at first, then veering. He mentions you in sleep, you know. Still hurts. Attached. A photo candid of Eli midshift in his loft, vulnerable and exposed. Rowan's reply. Keep them coming. Need to remember why. Rage boiled over white hot. Eli drove to Rowan's warehouse in a blackout fury, pounding the door until it yielded. Rowan, shirtless from a late workout, froze at the sight of the printout in Eli's fist. You spied on me. In my home. Rowan's face drained. Theo offered. A god's Eli was weakness. To feel connected. He reached but Eli recoiled, the bond twisting to nausea. Weakness? That's your excuse. Tears burned unbidden. I trusted you again. Fool me twice. Rowan dropped to knees, voice breaking. Don't. Please. I'll burn it all, the files, the bids. Just stay. The plea shattered something in Eli, love and loathing at war. He walked, leaving Rowan on the floor. But the door's slam echoed his own fracturing heart. Weeks of radio silence followed. Eli fortifying Harlan like a bunker. Rowan retreating to Spokane Ops. The void ached, a hollow where Rowan fit once. Eli dated a earnest beta named Miles, kind eyes and steady hands, but kisses fell flat, sense wrong. You're elsewhere, Miles said gently, ending it over brunch. Eli didn't argue. Climax brewed at the annual Cascadia Summit. A glittering affair at the convention center, shifters in human guise. Deals sealed over hors d'oeuvres. Eli arrived armored, speech prepped on resilient partnerships. Rowan was keynote, commanding the stage with quiet fire. Words on unity masking the personal plea. Their eyes met mid-speech, the bond a spotlight, and Eli faltered, applause crashing like waves. Post-panel mixer. Eli cornered Rowan in an alcove, voices low amid chatter. This ends tonight. Buy me out or I bury Whitaker. Rowan's jaw clenched. Blackmail now? That's low, even for you. Survival. But Eli's voice wavered, the fight draining. Rowan's hand cupped his nape, thumb stroking the unmarked skin. Fight me fair. Or fight for us. The dam broke. Fists flying in a blur of rage and need, security hauling them apart as guests gawked. Bruised and bleeding, Eli spat. You win. Take the alliance. Just leave me be. Rowan's whisper as guards pulled him away. Never. Eli fled to the sound's edge that night, stripping to shift, the wolves howl a dirge for lost chances. Betrayal had forged them into enemies, but love, stubborn, fated, refused the grave. The summit fallout rippled like a stone in still water, headlines in shifter wire. Rival alphas clash at Cascadia. Harlan versus Whitaker heats up. Eli's phone buzzed nonstop. Theo pleading forgiveness via block numbers. Theo's littermates cursing his name. Venture backers hedging bets. He holed up in the loft, ice packs on knuckles split from Rowan's jaw, nursing a black eye that throbbed in time with the bond's relentless pulse. Mirror's verdict. A wreck, stubble shadowing bruises, hazel eyes rimmed red from unshed rage. Success? It mocked him now, a hollow trophy smeared with blood. Theo's final gambit arrived by courier. A USB drive labeled Truth, and a note scrawled in haste. Burn after. For what it's worth, I believed in you both. Eli plugged it in warily, files unfolding like a confession booth. Emails, timestamps, Rowan's replies marked regret. Stop. This invades too deep. Proof. Rowan had cut ties months back. Warnings ignored by a desperate Theo chasing payouts. The betrayal shifted, not Rowan's spear, but Theo's solo folly, amplified by Eli's blind trust. Guilt crashed in, twin to the ache for Rowan. Eli drove north that afternoon. Tires eating highway toward Willow Ridge, the peninsula's evergreens closing like judgmental kin. The town hadn't changed. Same sagging porches, the garage where Rowan once taught him to torque a wrench, the chapel's steeple piercing low clouds. He parked at the old Whitaker place, a sprawling rancher with wolf motifs carved in lintels, and knocked, heart slamming. Rowan's mother answered, silver hair braided, eyes sharp as her son's. Elias. Not warm but not venom. He's in the back chopping. Eli nodded thanks, skirting the house to the woodpile, where Rowan swung an axe with mechanical fury, shirt sweat damp, muscles rippling under ink and scars. The bond sang at proximity, a homesick dirge. Row. Eli's voice cracked the rhythm, axe burying deep in a stump. Rowan straightened, wiping brow, gaze guarded. Come to finish the fight? Eli held up the drive. To apologize. Theo. It wasn't you. I jumped. Rowan's exhale was ragged, axe forgotten. Doesn't matter. You think I'm clean? Those photos, I kept one. Pathetic weakness. He raked hands through hair, vulnerability cracking the alpha facade. I pushed because I couldn't let go. Still can't. The admission hung and Eli closed the gap, hands framing Rowan's face, thumbs tracing jaw. Then don't. The kiss started tentative, salt of sweat and tears, then deepened, a reclamation fierce as storm. They stumbled inside, past disapproving glances from pack elders gathered in the kitchen, up creaking stairs to Rowan's boyhood room. Posters faded, beds sagging under their weight. Clothes shed in a frenzy, skin mapping scars of time apart. Eli's tattoo a broken chain. Rowan's moon a defiant crescent. They moved slow at first, reverent, then urgent, the bond weaving gold through touches, gasps sinking like howls under moon. After, tangled in sheets that smelled of home, Rowan traced Eli's ribs. What now? Your empire's in Seattle. Mine splintering without you in my sights. Eli's chest tightened. Ambition's ghost rearing. Merge. Harlan Whitaker. Partners, not rivals. The words felt right. A bridge from rejection's ruins. Rowan's grin dawned, boyish and bright. Bossy pup. But yeah. They laughed, the sound healing cracks, planning over cold coffee. Joint bids, shared ops, a new HQ straddling city and wild. Return to Seattle was a whirlwind. Press releases touting strategic alliance. Backers scrambling to invest. Theo got a reluctant second chance, demoted but watched, his gratitude a quiet vow. Eli and Rowan played it cool publicly. Handshakes at announcements, eyes promising more, but nights blurred boundaries. Rowan's penthouse hosting strategy sessions that devolved into skin and strategy of another sort, the bond purring content. Cracks showed subtle. Eli's late calls pulling him from bed. Rowan spoke in trips breeding distance. A full moon hunt in the Cascades tested it, shifting together for the first time since the rejection, furred forms weaving through snow-dusted pines, the chase ending in a glen where human again, they marked what fate denied. Rowan's teeth sank gentle into Eli's shoulder, the bond sealing with a bloom of heat, silver scar of vow etched in flesh. Bliss but fragile. Conflict reignited at a board retreat in the San Juans. Ferry ride choppy as tempers. Investors pushed expansion. Absorbed smaller firms, aggressive plays that skirted pack ethics. Eli championed it, eyes on legacy. Rowan balked, voice steady. It's predation, Eli. We build up, not devour. The room polarized, loyalties fracturing along old lines. Harlan loyalists versus Whitaker holdouts. Dinner devolved. Wine-fueled barbs. Eli accusing Rowan of clinging to rich sentiment. Rowan firing back on Eli's endless hunger. They stormed separate cabins, the island's wild calling Eli to shift alone. Paws pounding trails until exhaustion dropped him by a cliffside. Waves crashing below like his pulse. Rowan sent hit pre-dawn warm apologetic, and he shifted human blanket draped offering coffee. We're alphas both. Clashing's in the blood. Eli accepted the mug, steam curling. But the bond. It should balance us. Vulnerability spilled then. Eli's fear of stagnation. Rowan's terror of becoming the cage. Eli fled. Dawn talks mended tentative. Compromises on growth, ethics clauses in charters. They returned renewed. The merger announcement a triumph, headlines praising the power couple of Cascadia logistics. Yet undercurrents stirred. Jasper resurfaced. A consult lunch that ran long. Rowan's cologne laced with unfamiliar spice. Eli's wolf bristled, jealousy a thorn, but he swallowed it, remembering his own ghosts. Trust rebuilt slow, brick by brick. Shared runs in Discovery Park, lazy Sundays cooking elk steaks, whispers of future. Maybe a pup, adopted from rogue litters, a family unbound by fate. Climax brewed unexpected. A whistleblower from Theo's old contacts, alleging Whitaker's early bids laundered pack funds, illegal under human regs, a scandal that could torch both empires. Evidence pointed to Rowan's uncle, a bitter elder nursing grudges from the rejection days. Panic hit, feds sniffing, reporters circling. Eli and Rowan locked down, war room in the penthouse. Shredding docs, alibis, calls to allied gammas for wards. Nights strained, arguments flaring over risks. Eli pushing confrontation. Rowan caution. We fight dirty now? Eli snarled one eve, paper strewn. Rowan's retort. We fight smart. For us. The bond strained a taut wire. Love the only anchor. The confrontation came at a packed moot in Ridge. Elders convened under harvest moon. Bonfire crackling accusations. Rowan's uncle confessed, rage twisting. You rejected our blood boy. Deserved ruin. Punches flew. Eli shielding Rowan, teeth bared in defense. The pack turned, exiling the traitor, but cost lingered. Fines, scrutiny, empires teetering. In the chapel's shadow post-moot, ironic homecoming. Eli pulled Rowan close, moon silvering them. Worth it. Rowan murmured, bloodied lip quirked. Every scar. Their kiss sealed it. Bond unbreakable now, marked and mended. The scandal's dust settled like fallout, but Harlan Whitaker rose phoenix strong. Restructured, transparent, a beacon for ethical shifter biz. Feds backed off with slaps on wrists. Headlines shifting to redemption arc. Rivals to reformers. Eli's loft merged with Rowan's penthouse. Walls knocked for open space. Kitchen island scarred from knife fights over recipes. Balcony overlooking the sound where they shifted on whim. Mornings blurred. Coffee brewing as Rowan hummed off-key Dylan. Eli's head pillowed on his thigh. The mark on his shoulder a faint throb of belonging. Success redefined. Not empires alone but shared. They jetted to Portland for joint pitches. Hands brushing under tables. Winking at betas who sensed the undercurrent. Evenings unwound slow. Ferry rides to Bainbridge for beach runs. Pause and surf, human laughs chasing waves. Rowan's ink expanded. A chain linking his moon to Eli's break. A tattoo artist's nod to fractured fate reforged. Eli's wrist bore its match, silver threads weaving whole. Doubt's embers flickered rare now. A late-night call from a frantic client, rogue incursion on a haul, had Eli mobilizing solo, old habits dying hard. Rowan waited up, worry etching lines, confrontation soft. We're pack. No solos. Eli yielded, pulling him into bed. Apologies in touches that lingered till dawn. Trust, once shattered, gleamed resilient. Forged in fire, tempered by time. Willow Ridge called twice yearly. Harvest moot, where elders grumbled but nodded approval. Young pups trailing them like heroes. Solstice bonfire, Rowan's arm heavy round Eli's waist. Stories swapped of the rejection that birthed their legend. Eli's mother, Frylier now, pulled him aside one visit. Camel unlit between fingers. Thought you'd break him forever, son. But look whole. Her eyes misty, held absolution Eli hadn't sought. Expansion tempted. Bay Area whispers, a satellite in Austin for Southern packs. They debated over maps unrolled on the floor. Wine staining edges, bodies entwined mid-argument. Texas heated, melt you, pup? Rowan teased, nipping Eli's ear. But yeah, let's claim it. Plans solidified. Ethical audits, youth programs for stray shifters, a foundation in their names for pack wellness. Ambition humanized, success not at soul's cost. Intimacy deepened, layers peeled. One stormy night, power out, candles guttering, Rowan confessed the letter's genesis. Written in fever after the chapel, mailed as lifelines he'd half-hoped Eli'd ignore. Kept me sane. Or insane. Eli laughed, tracing Rowan's temple scar from their summit brawl. You haunted me better than any ghost. They made love then, slow, worshipful, the bond a symphony cresting in shared release, thunder applauding outside. Challenges lingered, human worlds grind. A homophobic supplier balking at their personal merger, dropped with a scathing press release that went viral in queer shifter circles. Pride marches in Seattle saw them marching arm in arm, rainbows on jackets, Rowan's hand firm in Eli's. Free, he murmured amid chants, and Eli squeezed, the word a mantra against old chains. A year marked the bond's full circle. Anniversary of the rejection, chapel revisited under clear skies. No rain, no howls, just them silver rings exchanged anew, vows whispered. I choose you every climb. Pack scattered petals, pups yipping, the air thick with pine and promise. Back in Seattle, a quiet dinner, bourbon toasts, mixtape spinning. Sealed it, bodies celebrating into velvet hours. But life layered nuance. Eli's first scare. A rogue hunt gone sideways, claw rake across ribs that healed slow. Rowan pacing our halls like a caged wolf. Can't lose you, he rasped later, bandaging with trembling hands. Eli pulled him down, kiss fierce. Won't. We're fated, remember? Stubborn as hell. Rowan's vulnerability echoed in quieter beats. Nightmares of Eli's flight. Waking sweat slick, Eli's arms anchor. They talked it through. Therapy with a pack counselor, sessions in a Fremont cabin where words flowed freer than bourbon. Healing, not perfection. A mosaic of scars and shines. Legacy bloomed unexpected. A litter of fox pups, Theo's kin, fostered when debts resurfaced. Eli bottle-fed at dawn. Rowan's laughter rumbling as milk dribbled. Look at you, dad material. The word hung tentative and Eli's heart swelled. Someday. With you. Years folded forward. Harlan Whitaker a powerhouse, outposts in Maine's fog-shrouded ports, New Orleans jazz-laced bayous. Eli, 35 now, silver at his temples matching Rowan's, stood boardroom windows, Rowan's reflection overlapping his partner's mate's mirrors. Success? A quiet empire, built on compassion's spine. One eve, full moon rising, they drove to Golden Gardens, the pier's witness to their reclaiming. Shifted, they raced, fur silvered, ending in a tangle of limbs and laughs. Human again, blanket wrapped, Rowan's head on Eli's chest, heartbeat sync. Regret it? The rejection. Eli's fingers carded damp hair. Let here. No. The sound lapped gentle, stars pricking velvet, the bond a steady hum. Freedom, identity, woven in love's unyielding thread. In the city's glow, rivals turned roots, they carved space for mercy. Second chances for Theos, packs for the lost. Humanistic arc flawed, fierce found.